you're looking at an empty space. For centuries, this spot held one of the most powerful objects in the world, the Papal Throne, the Cathedra Petri. It stood as a symbol of an unbroken line of authority that stretched back 2,000 years. But now, if you were to walk into St. Peter's Basilica today, you'd find nothing. The grand, revered throne that had symbolized the power of the papacy for centuries is gone, completely removed, and this act, done quietly in the early hours of the morning, is sending shockwaves across the entire Catholic Church and indeed, across the world. What you're witnessing here isn't a mere renovation. It's not just being cleaned or moved to another part of the Vatican. The papal throne is gone, destroyed. This wasn't a decision made lightly. Pope Leo XIV, the current pontiff, gave the order personally, with no fanfare, no announcement to the public, and no press release. It happened without warning, and it's leaving millions of Catholics around the globe confused, stunned, and asking the same question: why? This isn't about politics, at least not in the way we normally understand politics. This is about something far deeper: faith, power, and a church that has just been forced to confront something many never saw coming. The decision to destroy this symbol of the papacy, so tied to centuries of tradition, isn't just about changing a rule in the catechism or appointing new cardinals. It's about shaking the very foundation of the papacy itself, and that's exactly what Pope Leo XIV has done. Before we dive into the details of this shocking act, let's set the stage. Just before dawn, Pope Leo XIV quietly made his decision. He ordered the papal throne to be removed from St. Peter's Basilica, and not just moved, it was to be destroyed. This wasn't a simple decision. The papal throne, also known as the Cathedra Petri, was a symbol of the Pope's authority. It represented the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics around the world, the spiritual king who sat on this chair and issued pronouncements. It had been carved with centuries of history, drenched in prayer, and for many, it symbolized the very seat of St. Peter himself. But now, in just a few short hours, a small team of Vatican workers, stonemasons and carpenters, not cardinals or bishops, took it apart piece by piece. The gilded wood, the intricate carvings, the ivory panels, all were dismantled. They weren't preserved. They weren't put in a museum. They weren't even moved to another location. Pope Leo's instructions were clear: unmake it, return it to raw materials, destroy the symbol, erase it completely. The Vatican, in the midst of all this, hasn't issued an official statement. The press office is in disarray. There are leaks, of course, whispers that tell a story almost too unbelievable to be true. A story of a pope who, in order to save the church, must first destroy its most powerful symbols. This isn't about changing a rule here or there. It's not about appointing new cardinals or adjusting the budget. Pope Leo XIV's decision is about the very image of the papacy. For centuries, the Pope sat as a monarch, a spiritual king, on that throne. It was an image of power, of authority, of separation. It created distance. It said, "I am here and you are there." But today, with that throne gone, Pope Leo XIV has erased that distance. He's made a statement that needs no translator. He's saying that the church is not a kingdom with a king, it's a family with a father. And a father doesn't rule from a throne. The emotional weight of this decision is seismic. Think about it. A throne is for a king. A shepherd has a staff. A throne is made of gold and ivory, meant to inspire awe. The gospel was built on dirt and water, meant to inspire love. By destroying the throne, Pope Leo XIV is making a statement that everyone, whether they're inside the church or out, can understand. The era of the Pope as a royal figure is over. Pope Leo XIV is trying to pull the church back to its humble beginnings, back to a fisherman from Galilee who was told to feed my sheep, not to rule over my court. Pope Leo XIV is gambling that the symbols of worldly power have done more to obscure Jesus than to reveal him, and he's willing to face the consequences of that gamble. What happened in the Vatican this morning is a moment in history that will be debated for years to come, and no one can predict the outcome. But one thing is clear: Pope Leo XIV has chosen a side. He has chosen the side of humility, service, and love. The fallout was immediate. Inside the Vatican, the reaction was one of stunned disbelief. There was chaos, confusion, fear. The traditionalist wing of the Curia is now in open revolt, quietly, but with intensity. They view this not as an act of humility but as an act of arrogance. One elderly cardinal, reportedly in tears, said, "This is not reform, this is demolition. You're attacking the rock upon which Christ built his church." These cardinals are afraid. They believe that Pope Leo XIV is caving to secular pressure, erasing the sacred mystery of the papacy, and replacing it with what they describe as empty corporate populism. They see this as the ultimate betrayal. And some are even saying that a formal break from the church, the possibility of a schism, is now not just possible, but likely. But there's another side to this story. Young priests and bishops, especially from the global South Africa, Asia, and Latin America, reportedly electrified by this decision. One bishop from Nigeria, a woman named Anna, sent a message to her priests that was leaked to the press this morning. It read, "Rejoice. For centuries, we asked the people to come to the throne. Today, the throne is gone. So now the church is finally free to go to the people." For these younger Catholics, This is not the destruction of the church, it's the liberation of the gospel. They see this as the church shedding the skin of the Roman Empire, of European monarchy, and finally becoming what it was always meant to be, a global movement of service. For them, Pope Leo XIV has given them the freedom to move beyond the symbols of power and return to the core mission of the church, serving the poor, the marginalized, and the broken. What about the regular Catholics, the people in the pews? How are they reacting to this decision? The world is divided. Take, for example, Father Michael, a priest in a small parish in Ohio this morning. He had to stand in front of his congregation, people he's known his whole life, and try to explain what had just happened. His voice cracked as he described the scene. I have lifelong Catholics, people in their 80s who are weeping. They feel like their entire world has been pulled out from under them. The throne was a connection to their parents, their grandparents, to the saints, and it's gone. But then, he told us, there are young people in their 20s who felt alienated from the church, who were coming up to him after Mass and saying, "Father, for the first time, I'm interested. For the first time, I feel like this is about Jesus again." Father Michael doesn't know how to lead a church that's splitting apart in real time. On the streets of Rome, pilgrims are standing outside St. Peter's Square, staring. Some are praying the rosary, their faces filled with worry. Others are talking in hushed groups. We spoke to Isabella, a young woman from Brazil who had saved for 2 years to come to Rome. She said, "I came to see the center of the faith. I thought the throne was part of that. But seeing it empty, it doesn't feel empty. It feels open, like there is more room now, more room for us." This single act, this decision by Pope Leo XIV is forcing every Catholic and every person of faith to ask themselves what the church really is. Is it the institution, the buildings, the rules, the traditions, the symbols of power? Or is it the message, the person of Jesus, the call to serve the poor and the broken? Pope Leo XIV has forced a choice. You can't have both anymore. And it's not just Catholics who are paying attention. The Catholic Church has been the largest, oldest, and most influential institution on earth for centuries. Its moral voice has shaped geopolitics, global policy on poverty, migration, and human rights. For hundreds of years, that voice has spoken from a position of symbolic monarchical power from the throne. But now that throne is gone. This changes how the Church will interact with the world. The Pope will no longer meet with world leaders as a fellow head of state, a king meeting a president. He will meet them as a shepherd. That changes the entire dynamic of global power. And it's not just about the Vatican anymore, it's about how we as a human family understand leadership in every part of our lives. We build thrones all the time. The corner office, the biggest chair at the table, the title that puts you above everyone else. We create symbols to give us authority, to create distance, to protect ourselves. What Pope Leo XIV did was ask a terrifying question. What would happen if you just got rid of it? What if you chose the floor instead of the throne? What if you decided that true power isn't in the seat you occupy, but in the service you give? This is a spiritual earthquake, and we are all standing on shaking ground. We don't know what comes next. Will cardinals resign in protests? Will dioceses around the world reject this move? Or will this spark the greatest renewal the Church has seen in 500 years? For 2 millennia, that spot in the heart of the Vatican was a symbol of finality, end of the argument, the seat of judgment. Today, it's just an empty space on the floor. It's a question mark carved in marble. It's an invitation, a terrifying, beautiful, world-changing invitation to start over. So we have to ask, is Pope Leo XIV going too far, destroying a sacred tradition that held the Church together for centuries? Or is he finally doing what was needed to let the light back in?